Hello everybody, how are you? We are out testing the gimbal. I'm at Greenacres Congregational and we're starting here because I'm going to tell you the story of Mary Higgs. Mary Higgs was the wife of the vicar of this parish. I think they moved in 1891. They were from down south and yeah, he was given this church, so they up sticks and came up here. Now the children were grown. I think Mary was well into her 40s by the time she moved up here. She was known to be a very, very strong character. She had a very strong moral compass and she was all about giving back to the people. She didn't like to see people in poverty and she wanted people to have as nice a life as possible. So what she did, we'll have a look down in the graveyard while I tell you the story. So what happened was Mary and her husband basically moved up here. He was the vicar, the reverend, and she was a very outspoken, strong woman who was a strong supporter of the suffragist movement. She was highly educated. I think she was the first woman to pass the qualification. I'll put it in, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, other than a man. She was the first woman to do it. She was very headstrong and she got things done. Now when she moved into the area, the first thing she did was to establish friends within the area, and straight away Mary went to in the direction of Sarah Lees. Now Sarah Lees was the first mayoress of Oldham. She actually became mayoress before women even had the right to vote, which I think is amazing. She was the mother of Marjorie Lees. Marjorie Lees is the lady that gave Wornoth Park to Oldham when her mother passed away. She was the wife of Charles Lees. Charles Lees was the man who helped to found the Oldham Art Gallery. And Charles was the son of Eli Lees. Eli Lees, a very, very handsome man in his time, and I mean fit. He was a very successful businessman, cotton spinner, manufacturer, etc, etc. And they had the main house, which is still standing in Wornoth Park to this day. So that's the sort of circles that she was moving in. As I said at the beginning, she was all about giving back to the community, and what she did was she very quickly convinced Sarah Lees, who had a lot of money. Her husband had passed and she had a lot of money and nothing to do with it really, because the house was paid for. Leonard Cotton, 1882. Oh, he was only 5. Oh no, 57. Well anyway, that's still young, but yeah, 57th. Yeah, so what was that? Where was he up to? Yeah, so anyway, she very quickly got Sarah to think about buying lodgings for women. So in Oldham, I told you in the mumps video the other day, I told you the story about the mumpers, didn't I? And the doss houses and the workhouses and the sort of conditions that these people were living in. And what she wanted to do, Mary, is she wanted to sort of make sure that there was a safe house where women could go to help get back on the feet, etc, etc. So she got Sarah to buy this house. It's not up anymore, they knocked it down in the 1960s, but it was called Bent House, and it was 16 rooms, and I'm pretty sure it was on King Street. If I'm wrong with that, I will definitely put my notes in, but I've got it in my head that it was on King Street. And what Mary did is she turned it into a lodgings. So if you were down on your uppers and you were female, you could basically go there and get room and board, and I imagine, you know, a bit of a helping hand to get back on your feet. So that's one thing that Mary did for locals. The other thing that she did, and this is what she's famous for really, she was an upper class woman. You know what I mean? She was reasonably wealthy, not in the realms of Sarah Lees, but she was all right. You know, she weren't skint. One of the things she decided to do was she wanted to sort of highlight the plight of women that were living in these workhouses, doss houses, what sort of food they were given, you know, like what the conditions were, what they were expected to put up with. So she decided that she was going to go undercover, and she dressed up as a tramp, and she went and booked herself in to, you know, a workhouse or a doss house, not in Oldham, because she was known in Oldham. Obviously she would have been rumbled straight away. Let's have a look at this grave over here. It's all hidden. Yeah, so that's what she did. She went there, she went undercover. Now following that, look at that beautiful bird. Yeah, following that, she came out and wrote a scathing account of what she'd had to endure. Look at that, it's... I've just had a realisation, this gimbal is good, but it can't cope when I let the lens out, so I don't know what we're going to do with that, but I'm sure we'll sort something out. Anyway, look at this, James Newton. Oh, I know who James Newton is. I'm pretty sure that's the guy. I did a video on him recently, but I'm pretty sure that's the guy. Anyway, he lived at Greenacres Lodge. He died in 1887. Look at that little bee there. Anyway, where was I up to? Where was I up to? Oh, look at this one here. This is a very old grave. This says, John Howard, Esquire, of Rosehill House, Waterhead. Deeply. 3rd day of August 1850, in the 58th year of his age. Also Mary Howard, his widow, departed the life. Ah, poor bugger. I like this gimbal, but it can't cope with recovering. Doesn't seem to want to recover. I'll have to have a look at the settings on that. It's probably just the settings, isn't it? Yeah, so she wrote this scathing report and sent it to the people who she knew, that she was familiar with, the movers and the shakers. And I think she ended up getting, in the end, an Act of Parliament which basically improved things for people. So therefore she did a great deed, because she highlighted a situation. I think people were shamed really into doing something. As often is the case, you know, people have to be shamed into doing things sometimes. And that was it. And I think they ended up with an Act of Parliament, and she changed things for the better. So she was always looking. She was a campaigner. She was always looking to better people's lives and, you know, to do good. Now, one of the things that Mary did along with Sarah Lees again was another person who, you know, had strong links to the area and wanted to do nice things for people. So the pair of them decided that they were going to build a housing estate. Now the housing estate is still standing to this day. You may know what it is already, you may not. Sorry, I'm just messing with this gimbal. You may know what it is, you may not. But I'm going to leave it at the church for now. I'm going to jump in the old Tigra and I'm going to set off, and we'll pick it up at the next location. So everyone, we're here. Garden Suburbs. So between Sarah Lees, ex-mayoress of Oldham, and Mary Higgs, vicar's wife, and suffrage supporter, I can't get that word out, can I? They basically made Garden Suburbs between them. One of the reasons why Mary wanted to build Garden Suburbs was she said that she wanted to give people a decent place to live. Beautiful houses with access to all the mod cons and other bits and pieces, and she basically built it, didn't she? I mean, this is probably one of the most, if not the sought after area in Oldham, aside from going up Saddleworth. I would say, I mean, put me right if you have a different view on it, but I know that the houses here go for fortunes. I know that it's more or less stayed original. I mean, the architecture's that beautiful, the windows. Listen to them birds. Stunning. Now, I'll tell you about what happened to Mary, because it's a bit of a sad ending for her, really. A few years after she built the Haddon suburbs with Sarah, don't forget she had Bent House, which was for the homeless ladies or the hard up ladies to go and live. Sarah's husband died, the vicar, and she was toughed out. I wouldn't say tough, I don't know if she was toughed, I wouldn't use that term, but basically she had to leave the vicarage, you know, they had to get a new vicar in, and yeah, Sarah didn't have a home. So it was ironic, really, that the woman that had sort of pioneered most of her life to get homes for people who are homeless was made homeless. And I think it was Sarah Lees that suggested to Mary that she should move into Bent's house, and she did, and that's where she saw out the last of her days. Now, towards the last few days of her life, she was called to London. She was to get the OBE. She was given the OBE because of the work that tireless work that she's put in to give poor and disadvantaged people a step up in life. And that was recognised, and thankfully, you've seen these beautiful pink petals. Thankfully, that was recognised towards the end of her life, literally within 2 or 3 days of receiving her OBE. I think Mary, because she'd gone down south, she decided that she was going to spend some time at her daughter's, and it was while she was there that she passed away. Now, as you know, I'm all about a grave, and I would have loved to have shown you where Mary was buried, but unfortunately that isn't going to be possible, because I'm pretty sure that she was buried down south, which would have made sense, really. They wouldn't have brought her all the way back up here to bury her up here when she's got no family. Makes absolute sense that she was kept down there, and that she was buried probably in one of the family graves. So that is the story of Mary Higgs. If it wasn't for Mary Higgs, then we wouldn't be looking at this estate, would we? Because it wouldn't be here. She made it happen, along with Sarah. I'm just at the side of the Teague now. The other thing I wanted to tell you, and this is really, really exciting, I've been granted permission to go and film Oldham Church from top to bottom. Not quite the top, you'll find out on the video when I do it, but from the top to the bottom. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't, put your notifications on, because that's going to be going up fairly soon. And I think that will be probably the best video I've ever done for the channel so far, in terms of what the building is, what's inside the building, and the history surrounding the building. I've done external videos before now, but this is a internal, and the church are happy for me to do it, so I'm doing it. And I hope that you've noticed that the adverts have been turned off now. I've been given some advice off some other YouTubers about how I should do it. I might put the adverts back on again in the future. I don't really want to, but for now I'm taking them off because it's irritating me, and it's on my mind all the time. And now I've taken them off. There's no penalties, there's no anything. I don't do anything wrong on here anyway. I only make videos about history, so nothing. There's no financial incentive now, so there's no reason for YouTube to kick off if whatever. So yes, and I will be putting in the in fact, you know what, that's it, we're done. I will see you in the next video, and I really hope you like this. And this video really was a tester for my gimbal, so let me know what you think about that in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.